That's when we do time. I'm talking about understand. How I can say.
Remembers that last time. Other person still working and
Or just rely them.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, June 25th, Ybor CRA CAC meeting. I'm Rich Sims, chair of the committee. Welcome, everyone. We have forum, so we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to go through and do quick introductions around the table, starting with my Steve Palace.
Ybor was representing the Ybor City Museum Society immediate past chair. On the two of the sheriff's office.
Michael A. Murphy, Facility Media Gallery, Staten Island.
Chris Wardovich, historic Ybor resident.
Marsha Austin, resident, and member.
David Bailey, resident, developer, and representing Historic Ybor Neighborhood Civic Association.
Hey, Carmine Ivoroni, representing restaurants.
Carissa Aaron, Castle Ybor at Water. Larissa Bahia, HCC. Andrea Wright, White, Ron's Valley. Must have to go back on the cover. Community Connectivity Crossroads, LLC. Melanie Williams, Director of Budgets and Grants at Heart.
Jack, page 50 of those.
Lee Bell, Ybor Chamber.
Sergeant Vincent, police.
Jeremy Joseph, Ybor evenings.
City of Tempe, Darius Starwood, Community Development Specialist, Homes Liaison for the City of Tempe.
Council for us, TBD. Yeah, no house, TBD, homeless liaison.
Jason Stewart, yes, team.
Justin Willis, Director of Planning and Scheduling, Heart.
I'm Michael English, I'm the chairman of the street board.
Jonathan Castillo, I'm a resident and Ybor worker.
Brian Allen, I'm Director of Streetcar Operations for Heart.
Renee Lopez, City Council Code Enforcement.
Sorry, my Chardonnay, the Brittany Berry, business owner at Orange.
Great. Well, welcome, everyone. On the agenda, we have public comment. Anyone wishing wishing to address the board or say anything? 3 minutes. Sir?
Not really sure how to do this. I'm not a public speaker. My name is Jonathan Castillo. I've been living in Ybor for a little over 2 years. I've been working in Ybor for a little over 8 years. I currently live on 7th Avenue, and this is what I deal with 4 to 6 times a month. Outside my window at 3:45 in the morning. There's going to be some swear words in there, so I'm going to turn that off. There's no emergencies going on. My question is, why are we doing it?
They do that in order to clear the street and make sure they can notice to everyone that everything is shutting down, disrupt anything that's going on.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, sorry, it's probably my squad was, probably keep there with the sirens, from day cycle. So, yeah, we do that to move everybody who is enjoying Ybor City inside the clubs, as they all come out. They all want to, continue hanging out and, party. So we want to get home, we want to make sure everybody does get home, so just going down the street on our intercom saying, Ybor City is going, it's a public sidewalk.
Facts.
So I'm sure as business owners, you guys don't want these individuals, hanging out next to like saying in the morning when we go home and fights are starting to break out and they're being talking. So it's one of our ways for us to move them along and clear the street where we start the push about just after T55. We would start earlier, but Club Prana, they're the last ones to close their doors at like T55. Hit that, taking to 3. And once we get started, it takes about maybe 5 minutes to get everybody moved along from the start at 17th Street, moving westbound all the way down to 50. And since one way will be very good streets.
Florida Admin Code R33-602.701. Subsection 3, use of blue lights and sirens. Blue lights and sirens shall be utilized in unison when responding to the following types of emergency situations. Escapes from secure custody. Was anyone running away? When providing armed escorts or emergency vehicles. Are you following me, maybe? When working with other law enforcement agencies, emergency situations, and again, emergency situations, when such assistance has been requested by law enforcement agencies. What if that was an emergency, officer?
We're doing our push. That's how we get it. Yes, it's not an emergency, but it's a way that we do it. If you happen or,
Doing it wrong doesn't mean it's right, just because you've been doing it a long time.
well, what other suggestions do you have for us to do? Yeah, really good.
Well, first off, you follow the cars with horses. That's exactly what the horses are for, crowd control. You don't need the sirens as well. If it's also followed by cops behind the patrol car. Do you realize I have videos of it going on in the rain? No one's in the streets.
The other officers, they're on the sidewalks and they do go push everybody along.
Right, so the use of sirens is unneeded. And what about when the use of sirens in the rain, when no one's on the street?
When no one's in the street. And but it's one of the ways that we clear out.
My apologies, that was me at 3:45 in the morning.
Okay, well, this is public comment, so you bear, you're
We'll talk
courtesy
again.
there. You guys could talk offline, come up with a solution. If
Right for that.
General, I think maybe TBD comes to some kind of response to this, citizens' concerns but that is generally standard, clear procedure of how they do that on Seventh Avenue. I know it has gone on for a number of years. I think there's varying times of that and degrees of that happening, but mostly it'd be, on the weekends, I think that's pretty standard. Mr. Chair, Mr. Bailey.
I think this is a good example of, and Jonathan kind of spoke to this, the way that it was done versus the way maybe the future would fold. We're working towards Ybor City being more of a mixed-use district. And with that comes a change of policy. We now have residents living on Seventh Avenue. And what I got when I moved to Ybor City 20 years ago, when I complained about pains like this was, what did you think when you moved to Ybor City? That's not the best response. And if we're ever going to take Ybor to the next level and have people living along Seventh Avenue like they used to when Ybor City was founded, we're going to have to look at our policies and see if we're taking a chainsaw to, trim the hedges, so to speak. So I think this could be a good example. I mean, we've got Pedroso, there's a lot of residential development happening on Seventh Avenue.
So this Friday, we'll be working this Friday. So I'm willing to, we'll go without the sirens and see how much of a response we get from everybody here to get to,
Cool. Or, thank you.
Okay, great. Anyone else here for public comment? Okay, seeing none. The minutes from the May 28th, meeting are in your packet. Everyone had a chance to review. Do you have a motion?
Make a motion
Make a motion to what?
to accept minutes as.
Do we have a second? Thank you, Marcia. All in favor of said motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll turn it over to TPD for an update on, I think Kevin College is here. Who's going to be taking the TPD report?
I don't know what, college is going to talk about. I know for overall time stats, I was on vacation on last week. And then the week before that, was a little kind of quiet. We did have a string of burglaries that occurred at Ybor quarters, 2 weeks ago. And also at Lester. The one of arresting one of the guys who did Lester, they're waiting, we've got the last week. They're waiting on video, in order to see if they're going to do same site, so.
The burglaries for cars?
Car burglaries, vehicles were left unlocked, apparently they're targeting vehicles, military and civilian, all portions of civilian. Out of all the cars that they burglarized, the quarters, one of them had a shotgun here. These, Don't keep any valuables in your vehicles, especially firearms or something easy. You know, where people can look at is be, yes, and
Any questions for TPD? Homeless, report?
So since last meeting, not much has changed. We still don't have a bed at Temple Hope. We still haven't got an answer about the other treating the cottages. We can get one for you next time. We do have a bed at Salvation Army, but it's gonna get the other one, so. Other than that. I got you, Chris. Good afternoon. As y'all know, I'm in here every opportunity we have, and everyone as a whole when it comes to homelessness. So, Tempo did have a groundbreaking Monday. So they just opened up, the groundbreaking to do the community shelter that they're gonna put on site to offer, more continued services for those that's there, living on site in the tents and in the cottages. For what I know, they're charging 200 and they're working with keeping husband and wives in the cottage together, and then transitioning from there to permanent housing, which one of them that spoke is actually going to graduate from the cottage into permanent housing. So we have a relationship with them where we have 10 cottages that are full, as well as 25 tents that are full. I just got an update. Right now, we're down to 3 tents, which we partner and work well together with those people. We continue to canvas Tampa as a whole. They're District 3, so I cover the whole Tampa as a whole to try to offer services, which as of right now, there's been an increase of squatters due to us and implementing and offering services and then moving along camping on the sidewalk. So that's probably why you're not seeing them on the front streets, because they're finding vacant buildings and homes or whatever to kind of camp in, which not to say you're like, I'm pretty sure you probably maybe getting some issues where property owners are coming and their stuff been sitting, but unfortunately, people have found a way to kind of congregate and live in there, which I'm responding to those as well. But as a whole, we continue to fight every day to address homelessness and have readily beds available to offer services on the spot.
Any questions?
Quick question on scenario, and this might loop in block by block and TPD. So my wife and I were at Acropolis and a homeless guy walked up, brought his own beer, opened it up, sat down at the table and was kind of like, belligerently harassing people at the table. Do I call non-emergency TPD? Do I call block by block? I mean, obviously it's open container. He's not trying to hide it. It's not his bag. It's just he brought his own beer. He's kind of hassling customers.
Yeah, non-emergency, but it's also up to that business to enforce, whatever their rules are as far as someone's coming in and sitting at their establishment.
Yeah, I think it's one of those situations where they went and tried to intervene with the guy and he was being belligerent, basically telling him that, you know what? So at that point, you just called non-emergency TPD.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We would do similar, we would approach the individual, talk to the business owner, find out there's not a picture of nobody can contact TPD number and see. On a non-emergency, are the businesses allowed to physically remove the person if they're not unwilling to leave?
For sure, I can get that.
I would just ask, I would just,
I mean,
yeah, let us know that you asked, or that you told the person to leave the property. And then just, let us know that, hey, if I told this person to leave, go and do so, you do not have to go, arrest them.
Roger that.
There's a new law that just started about no camping on public property.
so there is an ordinance, we're waiting to see how that's going to be pushed out. From my understanding, it won't be any different than what we do now, which is we make contact whoever for offer services. After so many times, if they refuse services and is something readily available, then it is an arrestable offense. But it's not like you're doing camping automatically going to jail. You have to support them opportunity for services and for shelter.
That ordinance by the city or through the state?
So that's the new ordinance that just came down. I think it's supposed to go into effect with July 1st. July first or August first, we're still waiting for legal, but I did have a brief conversation with them, and so far, that's the protocol that will follow. If anything else comes new, I'm sure to share with you guys just if you get for what's happening.
Anything else for homeless? Okay, code enforcement, please.
On the packet of the speed of, we have received, there have been 23 new initial inspections that were conducted, the last inspection. And, inform you, some of you have interest regarding parking lots. And we inform you that, 5 cases are scheduled for August 7th, have to do with the parking lot attendants. And the public hearing, so it's on at Hannah, at 25 Hannah, so that's week 10, I read. And we have 19 cases regarding Ybor parking lot for party. That are scheduled for July 31st. At the same location. And go basic, you know that it's the 10. And those cases will be handled by historic preservation and zoning at the 27th cases that will be heard on that day. And both of those hearings are 1 p.m.
Can you remind me again what the purpose of not allowing A-frame signs within the Ybor city?
Code states that A-frame signs are not permitted, but there is an agreement. So if they keep it up along the establishment, and it's not inhibiting the trust or blocking off any of right of way. I won't. But not all of them are privy to it, depending on where the location is and what parking is. Was allowed with a big out.
And the reason was because blocking the driveway.
Yes, the pedestrian walkway. So if it interferes with that, then those establishments are not allowed.
Isn't the frame citywide, it's not just you.
Just anymore.
Oh, it is just you.
That's permitted to have.
Oh, we're committed to have it, but I'm saying for our signs,
Right.
they are legal.
Oh, yes, well, maybe they're not. Oh.
So for the parking, for the security for parking lots, is that what you were discussing earlier?
No, it's for the parking lot attendant.
Parking lot attendant,
Yes, that's August 7th.
August 7th, and
Excuse me?
have they sent out like what the rules are? When is all this starting?
That's going to be at the hearing. They will, the one for the parking lot requirements. That's going to be by the zoning and historic, and will. I don't see what it means.
So
I'll wait for it, the more pressure with that.
They haven't started yet.
All of these cases, everyone here was notified that they had to adhere to parking restrictions for Ybor.
Okay,
What those codes were, they were instructed to notify historic preservation and the zoning department to find out what the requirements were. And
okay. Thank you.
Thursday, 5. I don't know if everyone knows, Thursday at 5 p.m., city council is hearing about the parking lot standards.
Yes.
There's a workshop, so there's more to come. You want to say something? I know you don't like this.
Yeah, sorry. Just a quick comment. I did speak to Mike Peterson about this. So just going on the record, Hinkle wants to object to this language that says the parking lots were in compliance with 21-178C. Because the game that's being played, as you can see at the top of the report, code enforcement leaves at 2 a.m. And that's just after that is when the parking lot attendants leave. So we've sent code enforcement, Inca has sent code enforcement video of the parking lot attendants leaving at 2:15. So we're just going on the record to say like that statement is not accurate. That's it.
Do you want to comment on city council workshop?
Just Inca's going to be there. We support the change from parking lot attendant to security. I think I'm not mistaken, we heard that last week from Captain College himself, that it's an issue of personnel. If they have to have more TPD officers babysitting parking lots in South Ybor in the residential area, that takes officers off of Seventh Avenue, and we'd rather have them have more resources on Seventh Avenue. Person.
Any other questions for code enforcement? Mr. Stewart.
Yes, one highlights first, the cleaning highlights, some of the stats that are most notable is, increase in biohazard removal for the month of May. Also spills and stains increase, those two are kind of in conjunction. You're seeing a lot of pet waste on sidewalks and stuff like that throughout the day, that our team will go and readdress some of it required to really had to actually kind of wash that area. So the stats kind of increased dramatically. A little less this month, but it was still an increase that you can see. Or the graffiti removed, the graph on the bottom is a lot lower statistically than it has been, so it's good. Safety highlights, biggest one is the homeless count has increased. It's a lot of new faces, persons that are not currently in our database, that we're finding, stuff like that. Some of them are not staying, some of them are, the ones that are, we're kind of building a report and putting into the database. Request for fire, police, EMS assistance, that number has increased with some of the new faces coming into the district. The ones that have been here for a while, honestly, know a lot of the ordinance regulations that we kind of talked to everybody about, but so you'll see the uptick in the numbers. The outreach contacts was up as well. We did have a few successful kind of pass offs to homeless liaisons. One individual wanted to detox, get himself cleaned up. He actually had a job and all sorts of stuff and just fell on hard times. Tampa Police Department did take him to ACTS, got him into the detox program, which was a big success. And then another individual that I was just kind of referring to them as well, that's we've been identifying them. So stats would be good. And the contrast and state at the bottom is the sit, sleep, sit, lie, sleep, comply, non-compliant stats. You see some variances in the bottom of those for the month. The compliance stats are still higher than the non-comply. However, the non-comply has increased just with the new education and more people coming in the district about being on private property or sitting in right of way. So the stats kind of reflect that, but we're still having a lot of success by keeping our same hospitality approach. So it's good.
Are the dot-coms, is that where you need police?
Yes, so basically kind of like how a scenario goes, somebody's sitting on private property, the first thing we do is do a welfare check on how they're doing. Are you doing okay today? If they say yes, that's fine. If they don't respond, it's automatic EMS call. So if they respond yes, then we kind of inform them like, hey, you're sitting on private property, the business either closed, you're not a patron. There's a police notice, would you mind relocating to a public space or just offer the private property? If they say yes, we put in a comply stat and it kind of closes out. They say no, that's when we go into contacting TD on emergency to that instance.
Any questions for Locker? Okay, we'll move into streetcar.
Mr. Chairman, thank you so much for having us here. It's an annual event and we appreciate your always bring Rich. I have my A-team Justin Phillips and Brian Allen here for the presentation. I'm here to answer any other questions you might have. I have to tell you going in, this is a little bit more challenging this year than past years in terms of part of transportation. No longer this year providing $700,000 and $1 million in support to our budget. So you're trying to make that up. There's some additional hard expenses to adjust to what's waiting.
Good afternoon, everyone. Some of our highlights from this year were record ridership. We were, as you can see by the chart here, we're on track for 1,430,000 riders this year, up from 1,315,000 from last year. We got an acknowledgement from a very unlikely source. The Cato Institute, which is a libertarian think tank, said that we were the most efficient streetcar system in the country. And we were right at the bottom of the list. And they started this study to show how terrible streetcar systems were, of course, with, the high price. And then they said right in their report that because of Tampa, that we drove everybody else's averages down. So it was kind of a unique thing for all of us, I think, just to put things into perspective for you. And then on the next page is our tentative operating budget. We have Melanie Williams here, who's our Director of Budgets and Grants. Can talk a little bit more to that if you have any questions. And I'll just keep kind of moving here. This year we had some events, of course, some you're probably all familiar with, Streetcar Live, which starts out right here at Station 1 on Fridays all throughout the year, except during the summer when it gets really hot. Winter Village, this is the 5th year we've done Winter Village with the Downtown Partnership, where we take families for a streetcar ride where they hear carols and have stories and everything, bring them down here, and then they return for the events at Curtis Hickson Park. Very popular, becoming a staple of the Christmas season, I believe.
It's a sellout.
It's a sellout every year, so yes. And then, of course, we got some great media coverage this year, thanks to things like the Monopoly Board and the Gatto Institute reports of that. And finally, we started a second project. Some of you are familiar with this. During the pandemic, we sent 4 of the streetcars out for rehab. They were reconditioned to like new. Thanks to FTA funds, we are able to now do the rest of our fleet. So we will be sending the last 4 cars plus the Breezer out for rehab. So at the end of all this, our fleet will have all gone through the rehabilitation. That'll be good for years. And finally, as part of the University of South Florida, some of you were involved with this. They've done other sites here in Ybor, but they came down and did LiDAR scans of our streetcars and the stops here within Ybor. And they did a fantastic job, great presentation, and they're starting to link all these together. So there's a LiDAR map, as you will, of everything in the area. And it was so detailed that we could go in and look at their data and tell how high our OCS wire was just from their scans. And when they were doing, there's a shot here of the Breezer, when they were doing those scans, it was in the shop and they were showing us the cameras and they looked like pencil drawings. It was absolutely insane how advanced this technology is. But that is available. We have copies of their files, but they also have files. They also did Union Station, a couple buildings that were torn down. So, and then finally, you all know we're on the Monopoly for the Tampa division, which we're very proud. So. Yes.
So I'll follow up. So Justin Willetts, I'm the Director of Planning and Scheduling. So the Cato Institute report was kind of interesting and kind of funny because at the same time we had a state study the legislature commissioned to kind of look at art in a not so good light, and we came out in a pretty good light. But one of the things it said, it says we're significantly underfunded, but we run a really good operation with limited resources, et cetera. But we need to do a cost allocation model to update where we're attributing costs within the agency. So the first step we did was, because the simplest cost allocation plan for us to do was for the streetcar. So we completed that effort and started assigning things that had been included in the HART budget that were streetcar related to the streetcar budget itself. So that is why you're seeing an increase in cost in that budget for HART overhead streetcar expenses. That is a $1.475 million a year expense. So that is a big increase in the cost of the street. To go with that, this subsidy that FDOT has been providing for the last 4 years that was for fare free and frequent service is going away because FDOT, it was originally a 3-year grant. The city in part kind of begged for that 4th year. That was last year. And now the state has said, we are not going to continue this. This was supposed to be a short-term thing. It's time for the city to step up and fund this service. So that is an increase of about $2.2 million over the revenue that the streetcar had last year. So that is
the city is working to find that revenue. But one of the likely places the city is going to request that comes from is the various CRAs that have partially funded the operation for the last few years. So one of the things we're here to do on basically the city's behalf, because it is the city's responsibility to fund the streetcar service, is say that they are probably going to be asking for a little more money than last year from each of the CRAs. And what that total is, we're not here requesting a dollar amount from you, but we're just here to say that request is probably going to increase this year. Depending on where else they find revenue. I know that they're doing some analysis on the special assessment to see if they need to increase that or change how it's applied or whatever they're doing. That is their under their purview. But we are the operator and we are here to just relay that message. And that's kind of where that stands. So I did want to, I have some other information here that can kind of elaborate on, the cost compared to other systems. Even though that this will increase the bottom line by $2.2 million, we are still going to be one of the cheapest streetcar operations in the country. We reported last 2 years ago that the cost for the streetcar per revenue hour was $123. The industry average in this nation is $350 per hour. So now that we've applied these overhead costs to fully show what the operational cost of the streetcar is, that average cost per hour is about $230 compared to our closest peer, which is Kansas City. They're paying about $350. So it's still a really good bargain. It's still a very efficient system, very low cost, but it is far more accurate than the $123 that was reported a few years ago. And just for reference, the bus cost per hour is $165. The streetcar operation is much more significant, got more controllers, more motoring needed to operate the service. There's a lot of additional resources required. So that's really the whole story, and take any questions now, but we did want to explain that line item. It was a result of some getting under the microscope of the state and them saying you need to update a cost allocation model. This is how it impacted the streetcar, and we're doing the same exercise for our paratransit van service and our bus transit. So I'll stop talking.
So the 1.475, that's where it was a hard expense, but now it's been reallocated to the streetcar
Correct.
for payroll, for general.
Yes, I didn't print out 25 of these, but I do have a few copies here. I'll just go down the list really quickly if you'd like. So yeah, it's about 4% of our payroll costs, 10% of budgeting, 2% of legal, 4% of HR, all single digits down through accounts payable, operations supervisors, procurement, safety, IT. Marketing is the biggest one, is at 20%, and project management is at 25%. And that's based on the number of projects we have planned for the streetcar that require Hart resources to manage the projects themselves, whether it's the railroad ties through the channel district, capital maintenance on the stations, the rebuilds of the streetcar themselves. And then, of course, for like software and systems is a specific line item. It's not a percentage. They're specifically allocated to the streetcar.
Trainings in there, which is mandated.
Yes. And a lot of these, with the ramp up in service that happened 4 years ago that we're trying to maintain, a lot of those costs are because we're increasing the revenue hours. We went from 12 operators to 16, to 18. So that's part of how those cost allocations.
I mean, we're working on the budget right now, but I think that's all gonna go back and forth with CRA board.
We haven't had an ask. The CRA is not had an ask yet.
Yeah, I think that's going to be on the city staff.
So that would have to go through a special projects process with everything else, even departments have been. So we'll wait. We don't have that much money though. Ybor 2 doesn't list. So I just so y'all know, staff, I've not seen any ask of it yet. So y'all haven't asked, right? So yeah. Oh, wait,
Well,
say,
it's a little bit tricky because the city should be asking.
I
these
know.
rates, so I'm kind of just the messenger, but it is the ultimate responsibility of the city to fund the streetcar service. We're the owners of the assets and the operator. So it's
and this would be to fund it at the level that you're doing now, right?
correct.
Okay, so there's no
So-
discussion of reducing that level to make things
Yes, and remaining free.
and remain free, right?
And the savings from reducing service are not super significant, right? So to deliver the 15-minute headways all week and then 12 minutes Friday, Saturday and Sunday, takes 4 to 5 cars in service at all times.
Right.
So if you start dialing back, the frequency then dials back, the ridership drops.
Right.
If you put a fare back, that's only going to generate probably 300,000 to 500,000 a year and the ridership will decline. You may potentially impact the project rating for the extension that the city is now picking back up. So it's there are some tweaking that we could do, but there's still a funding gap that needs to be addressed by the city, and your part in that is your decision. I'm not here to lobby or advocate on the city's behalf. It's just saying these are the costs and the city needs to, figure it out.
And they will.
Good.
With your health insurance.
And that amount that you're receiving is like 750K.
So-
budget shortfall or is it more?
It's the 2.2 million is the delta of the city.
It's the additional expenses plus the stuff.
So you're talking about 2.3 is what you're looking for?
Exactly. That's correct.
Spread across a lot of different areas. That's sort of potentially.
Has the streetcar looked at any other funding sources outside, like, we talked about the FDOT grant ceasing. Are there any other federal grants or any new grants by FDOT that can contribute to this? What have you done to explore other options?
That's really the city's purview. I was kind of hoping they would send somebody here with us tonight to field those kind of questions. But we are submitting applications for service assistance for bus transit the same. So anything we submit for transit competes against bus. So the application that last delivered a lot of the service was something that prevented us from going after it on the bus side. It was a pretty small pot statewide, unfortunately. There's not a lot of transit money out there. But the city was having that conversation with DOT, but DOT has been pretty firm that they're not gonna continue this and that the city needs to figure out.
Okay.
Off the wall question is, given where payment technology is these days, is there any way that, like, for example, if a bunch of people are loading into the streetcar to go to a Lightning game, I've been there many times before, and you just said like, this is great, I want to pay the streetcar, $5 or
That's an
10.
idea, it's great.
Like if there was a QR code that you could just like scan on the streetcar. Yeah. Okay. It's like a tip jar.
Yeah, I mentioned this to Mr. English after our meeting earlier today, that I've been trying to push something like that for the last year or so. But we'd like to activate the electronic fare boxes and say tap to keep the streetcar free. But I would say that that's probably a couple $100,000. We're projecting 1.5, 1.6 million trips this year, so we don't know, but we would like to just turn it on and maybe have a few things at the station that do the same, where you can select how much you want to donate, so it's not just $1 or $2. So I'm hoping that I can convince somebody to bring that to our board. And then hopefully,
Great idea.
yeah, I think, because people get on all the time, and they ask how you pay, and, we'd love to be able to point them to the donations.
And I've been.
Dollar.
But I haven't
Just
done
right.
rich people yet to help me. We had an endowment, $6.8 million, which was started 22 years ago. And we spent every nickel of it on the CSX cost insurance. But perhaps philanthropy could help us out. We haven't started seriously talking about it, but I'm thinking about it.
There was Michelle.
So if you know any rich people who would love to give us $1 million or more, and put it in their account, just spend the interest, that would be the idea.
These are like charging like $1 I mean, everybody that gets on it charges $1, that'd be $1,400,000 or no?
Yeah, well, yeah.
I mean, they would write it for $1.
It would. There's some technical reasons why it would disrupt service. One of them you told me, you might
Take longer.
it would take one of the cars out of service and slow everything down. We're not giving up on that idea, but we're trying like hell to not large. Because
Okay.
really, the combination of all the development here in the Channel District and downtown and all the people that have their living and working in the area, along with it being free, has taken the ridership from $434,000, 434,000 people 5 or 6 years ago to 1.6 million. So, and it's as popular as it can be. We really are trying hard not to do anything to disrupt. Because we also want an extension.
And then when the feds evaluate projects, the ridership, you don't want to mess with that. As
Right.
we're potentially going to submit an application to the Federal Transit Administration. So that's kind of where
Right.
we're like, we all agree $1 is not a big deal, but in the midst of trying to put that application together and to deliver a project, it's like, you know,
Understood.
you know,
There's a lot of thinking going on in the city about not only extending the streetcar initially something that you all have advocated forever. Up to Palm Avenue at least, but also then coming back to New York, so we have, which would have a huge impact again on ridership.
Question there is the one towards you right now, like, but if you were close to the 19, is the interstate kind enough for the riders to come in?
Sure.
That's 14-foot thickness.
We can figure it out.
It'd be close, but
Okay, good, but that's always been one question.
right the same.
We just have to move the interstate.
You just coast.
Yeah.
How many stops are there by the port?
there's 3.
That would be my suggestion, to eliminate the stops by the port for so long as the port decides that they're not gonna contribute to this thing. We tried desperately, Michael, you'll recall, to try to get the, that's an understatement. And there's been a lack of, for lack of a better description, we had hoped, we met with Vic Beatty a number of times with the hope of him convincing Mayor Casper, who also sat on the port's board, to see what could be done to get the port to contribute, because it seems like a significant, I don't know what the percentage is, but the percentage of people utilizing the port off the ships go to Ybor City, and yet they year in, year out deny or reject any solicitation to contribute to this thing. And I just wish consideration would be given to eliminate some of the stops that's by the port, and then see how they respond to that.
If we could only find out, I think the mayor has just been a problem balancing political priorities that she has with them. If she could put some pressure on them, I was willing to, I have no doubt they would spend some money.
Yeah, we had, if you'll recall, we had asked Vic, and we were supposed to meet with her, and then we were supposed to get back with us, she never did, and then we scheduled a meeting. Brenda, you might remember this, and nothing at all happened, and it was just candidly disappointing, to say the least.
Unrelated subject, by the way, we had a presentation at our board meeting today, General Shaw's new streetcar shop. It's gonna be very cool. You be sure you get a presentation of that, you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, it's on the streetcar website and the agenda for today's meeting. Go check it out. It's really sharp. I like it.
Where else is the city going to look for money? The CRAs, they're asked, but that does that cover all of the areas, or is the port is outside of the CRA? What other areas are outside of individual CRA?
For the city to find revenue?
Yeah,
I mean, they have a pretty large budget, so they could look at parking revenue.
but I guess I'm saying is that the streetcar goes through certain CRA districts.
Right.
So I guess what's happened, the city is gonna ask the CRA districts to
Which we do already.
Which we do already.
In City, Channel Side, and Ybor.
Where else does the streetcar run through that is outside of CRA?
It doesn't.
Area?
It only runs through the three CRAs.
Okay.
There is some talk too about the possibility of increasing the special assessment district. When we, it's 1/3 of 1 mil, and this year will generate about $1.7 million, which is a small increase. When we started it, there weren't very many people living in downtown or the Channel District or Ybor City, frankly. But the people who were here really felt they couldn't afford it. And so we excluded homestead residential. You think about how much homestead residential there now is in the three CRAs, it's huge. And I don't know the numbers, but it would be a substantial increase. That means going to the public and selling people who have homestead own property to be willing to pay that assessment. It wouldn't be huge, but it's a tax. It's a very. Good luck for that.
Is there an idea of how much that would be for like a $400,000 piece of property?
1/3 of 1 mil.
And so what is that like about? Like it's $50 a year or?
I think it was a couple hundred.
You already said on your personal property.
Yeah, for the streetcar?
I don't remember.
That partnership, that's like 1.0 millage equal to a 1.01 bills. Streetcar is 0.33.
Point.
Yeah, and I think what's gonna happen here, there needs to be an ask by the city to the CRA board and other funding sources. We've started a first pass at the fiscal year budget for next year. We have money already that we continually offered to the streetcar over the years, so that number is maintained, but I think we just have to, I think the board appreciates you bringing us to our attention, but that's got to come from the city as an ask to the CRA board, and then we'll deal with that as a recommendation.
And they'll have to come talk to you about it what they want. And if they need me, then I'm going to have it.
Great. Thank you for your time. Great presentation, great ridership.
Always.
So we have another presentation for you. This is us asking for money. You knew this was gonna be awesome. So one of the things, Councilman, so our chair is Louis Vieira, and he made a motion at the CRA board for, because we have been getting a lot of requests for additional bus stops throughout service area, most notably in the city of Tampa. The requests are for better shelters and to look at every different funding source we could. So Councilman Vieira motioned for Art to work with CRA staff, and they said, great, thank you very much. To come up with some potential enhancements that could be funded out of CRA offers. And that's what this very simple and short presentation is. And just to give you a little insight, we don't, at heart, we have the half mil ad valorem, right? So the streetcar production assessment is 0.33. Our millage is 0.5 countywide. It is maxed out. Almost all that money goes into operations every year, which basically means that pays for the drivers. And then we get a lot of other money. All of our capital budget basically comes from the federal formula funding based on ridership, the amount of service, population growth, and that's what funds our bus replacements. And we do not have a real capital funding source, right? So the rolling stock, our maintenance facility is 45 years old. It's a $140 million replacement. We're looking for federal money for that. But for our bus stops, that is part of the capital program. So we're looking for money everywhere that we can fund better bus stops. So that's what our board has asked us to do. That's what Chair Vieira asked us to do for the purposes of CRAs. So I have a lot more slides than this for every CRA that we have bus stops in, and we're going to all of them. This is our first stop. So I'll be very quick because it's not rocket science, but they're a little pricier than you probably suspect, as everything is these days. But our vision for the bus stop improvement program, is to improve these bus stops and CRA boundaries. Based on Vieira's motion, we want to enhance comfort, improve accessibility, provide safety and security features, and provide people shelter from the elements, particularly this time of year. There's a couple of examples. Sorry they printed this in black and white. I didn't want to make them reprint it in color because we already printed out 10,000 sheets for this meeting. But there's an example of Dale Mabry of a stop improvement, the new shelter on the right. And then the next page 4 is an example of that new stop on Nuccio. And the old one in October and the new black because of the overlay here. That's basically what we're trying to accomplish with the improvements that we've put on pages 5, 6, 7, and 8. In this, the Ybor City 1, we have 4 stops, 3 on Palm, and then an additional one on 13th between 8th and 9th. If you look on page 5, that is planned as the end of the line for, and basically in the interim rubber tire streetcar circulator. So before that extension gets funded and built, we've lined up some operating funding from the city to fund a rubber tire circulator that would go from Whiting Station in downtown up to Palm and close the loop as an interim solution before the streetcar actually goes. So that is one of the stop requests in this list, is where the circulator would come and tie in right next to Good Ratio, basically, and then go back out to Palm and then back. That's what that Ybor transfer hub on 13. It's just so that circulator transfers right across the street to the existing street. EO City 2 only has 2 stops in it, and these we backed into these requests based on what CRA staff helped us identify as what is probably a reasonable ask based on each individual CRA and what we heard from them. So that's kind of how we got one of those. And then those 2 stops in that boundary are Nebraska at Palm. And on page 8, you can see those 2 stops. They are very modest, no shelter whatsoever, just a trash can, and one's got a bench. So those are the requests to improve those stops as well. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm happy to take any questions.
So it's basically 40,000 per stop. Those were costs breaks down to. Is that the full cost?
That's
Or is that the like portion that you're asking CRA?
That's the portion that will probably get us there. Some of these things, if we have drainage impacts, they can balloon, but we have a variety of different sources we're trying to pull from. Sometimes we hit 60 grand on a single stop. So this is the best average we have over the last 12 to 18 months. And then should we have any remaining funding or not, we would just not build that or come back to you and say, we didn't use all of that. Here's another stop in your boundaries we'd like to.
There's six stops in the CRA 1 and 2 boundary, and the city is asking the CRA to fully fund 6. The city doesn't want to put it in.
So this is a request coming from Hart that Councilman Vieira requested that we work with city staff to come up with. So I would feel this is more of a Hart request for the bus stop funding. There are more stops that we could put in here. This is just the most reasonable ask that we felt appropriate.
So just so y'all know, when you saw the budget at that time, you allocated for FY 25, 100,000 for Ybor 1 and 50,000 for Ybor 2. That's what we have so far. To get started.
Say that again, was that
100,000 for Ybor 1 for the Hart bus stop enhancements, and then 50,000 for Ybor 2.
Okay.
So look at some of them started.
Regarding city for, for city two CRAs, limited is just the second. Others or that. Well, consider either there's one or two stops, 27 now. 27, 6. And or any other stops south of 7.
Yeah, so the main reason we prioritize Palm is because kind of the long-term vision for bus service is really gonna be Fourth as Gasworks builds out and Palm. So we kind of wanted to focus there first. At that part of Seventh, just because we come from East County with Route 8 and we end up deviating around 21st, 22nd. It would be kind of like a next, maybe if there's like a next year pass. But these are, we really want to focus a lot of the core bus service on Palm, especially because it's gonna be multiple years. We're detouring around all the Gasworks construction. So that's why those were the first best asked in our.
Do you have ridership numbers though?
Yeah, there is a table there.
There.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
What is the difference between boarding and arriving?
Ons and offs.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I guess. Transit. Terms. But you really want to show all the activity, right?
So,
You're getting off on the right too. So.
Okay, so we have your information for the request. We've already budgeted some number, but we're gonna continue through the budgeting process over the next several months. So, let's see if we can make those adjustments. We don't need an action, right?
No, I think we're good. Yeah.
Well, if we need to come back for anything, let us know. Thanks for your time and
Thank you.
send us any questions. We can, our contact information is on the sign sheet, so. That's how you hold.
Question, I realize that I'm assuming these are already kind of prioritized in play, but out of these 6, were one's higher priority than the other? Because it sounds like our budget we do have planned is less than what this was covered. So if we could fund part of it, which ones do you want the most?
Well, what I would do is I would just revise the total ask down, but keep the stops listed. So once we fully design each one, we can then say, we can get 3 out of these 4 with the total they gave us. And kind of just keep all of those listed as priority and then let the actual construction cost dictate which one to go in first.
We looked at private investors, maybe. I mean, go to big corporations that like slap their name on something, you know?
Yeah, we've got an advertising contract where we do that as well. But there's a lot of unknowns with that, and there's ADA accessibility issues, so we've got to try to make as many conform and get them built right, because sometimes those vendors and those third parties are not so reliable about ADA accessibility. So it's a bit of a.
I was thinking like, you get a bank to pay for it and just slap their name on it, donated by Bank of America.
Yeah, marketing works with them a lot, but we also have to, yeah. You know, I guess. All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you
your
so
time.
much.
Yep. You do. Work up front.
Yeah.
Yeah, first station.
and now, so maybe I'll wrong people. That's the first I've ever. No. City right now, see it's raining. Police and. Terrified. You gotta wonder what the heck. You're so darn distant.
Before we move on from that, we're just thinking out loud over here about some of the ridership on some of those are very low. no stops. So it might be worthwhile considering like the higher priority one with the more flag ridership versus, I don't know what way.
Yeah, I agree with you. Generally, just looking at these as some, 10 to 20 riders per day on or off, there's a whole lot of these stops. Since you already get more ridership. I think we're all.
That's why I was wondering about it. Stops at the second circuit there. East, I see the bottom, but it's not a big splash, right?
Yeah.
Waiting for the chair. Waiting for you, sir.
Okay, and next up, we have a CRA housing update, B Parks.
Good afternoon and happy Tuesday. So B Parks, everyone knows me in my other previous capacity of communications, but my true background is housing. With over 15 years of experience, I worked with both private and public, and once upon a time with the city overseeing the down payment assistance, owner occupied rehab grants, along with stormwater and also infield construction. So that was kind of what I oversee the first trip around. So I'm back. But to represent the CRA, fully funded. So I'm coming today to just briefly discuss with you some housing initiatives, and just overall housing is like number one right now across the board. And in addition to that, affordable housing is very hard to do. So just trying to be, just think of that, partnerships, making sure we identify how to work together is what's going to make this work. So briefly, part one of this is the policy and program updates. We'll go over some housing priorities and programs that will have already been communicated, but we're going to dive in CRA related. Consolidation and alignment to HCD. As you know, or maybe you don't know, I am CRA funded specifically, so I don't work with any of the regular housing and community development programs contracts. I work solely for the CRA, but I am housed in the housing department, so I'm located in Hannah. So it's just better to be in housing, to communicate and partner with them. So that's the alignment and the consolidation, communication strategies and next steps. And then part two of the presentation is just going over some matrix, the new housing and rehab renovation program, down payment assistance, and some strategic initiatives, and then of course Q&A. So you've been seeing this a lot. This has been like pounded throughout this whole year, that the CRA has some focus areas. You've seen this which talks about attainable housing, connectivity, economic development, and quality of life and community engagement. That by chapter 163 is what we are designed to do. So we just wanted to focus more on making that more of a visual aspect and actually assign some goals to that. So again, to close the home ownership gap for 80% AMI and collaborate with housing partners, private is very important, and also offering financial incentives and developing target programs to retain existing residents by providing resources and support for home repairs, maintenance, and accessibility options that enhance housing conditions, and then to support the creation of housing options that stabilize communities, while also working to reduce the percentage of housing cost burdens. That's a lot. Again, it's a group effort. So let's just keep on moving. The implementation timeline thus far, if you remember back in around like June to July timeframe, we held some meetings with all of the community advisory committees at that time to kind of just go over what they think their district should have, or some ideas, because we, of course, the administration asked for 30% of our budgets to go into affordable housing. So you kind of just had some dialogue there that was then taken back through the administration and, our partners to kind of work on what does that look like. And then by January, February, there was a housing needs assessment that was completed that you can find on the website right now, on the planning's website, which was like the detailed housing needs assessment that was conducted. And then April of 2024 is when I stepped into my position. So it was April 29th of 2024 where the CRA housing division has been created. So it's myself as a coordinator, and then I have two other employees that I'm currently gearing up for. So it's a specialist and a technician that's going to be helping me carry this out, and then we'll analyze, if it's need any more staff is needed. But as of right now, that's manageable. And then the June 24th, the June 13th meeting, I went in front of the CRA board and briefly discussed those options that were already discussed in the February 2024 meeting that just showed how the CRA will support the housing efforts. And then now until the end of July, we're just now drafting communication strategies to, hopefully everything, there's a lot of changes. Let's not be phony about that. There's a lot of changes going on in the city of Tampa right now. I can't answer why, but I just stick to my deadlines because I know we have to push this money forward. So I'm hoping that these new programs will kick off August 1st. That's the timeline I'm working on. And I'm kind of pushing everyone along, purchasing everyone that has to kind of comply with that because we want to kick it off by August. Tampa CRA has been implementing CRA district-specific housing programs already. These are specifically in West Tampa and East Tampa that they had the bulk, but East Tampa has been the bulk. So we've been doing housing initiatives. And then Tampa CRA will fully align with HCD programs and policies for expedited delivery. And then Tampa CRA will expand housing programs in all districts. That's pretty much the implementation timeline. So going over the city/CRA housing priorities that were discussed back in February. So they ran through all of these program areas that they defined, which was homelessness, stability for renters, support for homeowners, and creation and preservation. So where they identified where the CRA dollars could be used for per our statute 163, the two main priorities that we can help with is support for homeowners and creation and conversion. So those are the two direct program areas that CRA can help in. What is support for homeowners? Well, that's a housing rehab and renovation program, and that's down payment assistance. So that's currently there's some property owners that need help with repairs. So that stabilizes the current housing stock. And then down payment assistance. Right now, everyone's trying to buy a house. So we want to create new buyers. So we can, as a CRA, directly fund those programs. Another initiative program area that we can also assist in is infill housing program, the unit creation and conversion program, and also strategic acquisitions. Right now, we are closely engaged with real estate to identify what is in our district areas that we have a possibility of reaching out to try to negotiate to get land or property. So we work closely in hand to make sure that we could do that. So consolidation and alignment of programs. So what does that actually look like? So just based off of this, these are current 1 through 7 are current CRA programs that we administered in the past that are residential. So all of those, which includes the emergency roof repair grant, emergency tree trimming grant, owner occupied rehab, residential improvement, residential exterior improvement, residential rental rehab, and then upstairs residential conversion. All of these are being consolidated into the housing rehab and renovation program. So that's the new term for rehab. And then, of course, number 8 is down payment assistance. So that's just direct subsidy for that potential home buyer to buy a house and to get it. So again, we just identified the key priorities where we were before and where we're moving forward. So the creation and preservation, just like it shows, infill, the creation and conversion, and the acquisitions. So the CRA to sunset previous grants, which they have, complete all applications in queue, which right now I'm completing the emergency roof repair program and also the tree trimming grant for East Tampa. Consolidate to the 5 HCD aligned strategies. So those are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strategies for program delivery. So just by teaming up, we can expedite it quicker. This is an effort to increase impact and improve implementation to address the needs. So communication, right? Strategy. Update on the CACs about these new strategies. Collect feedback. Update website and public platforms with the application, description of these programs, and contact people. Host informational sessions. They're not only going to be informational, they are going to be taking applications on site and helping individuals who might be a little bit older or not too tech savvy to actually fill these application out. We are going to have paper applications, but all of this is going into a database that's called Ybor for better client management. So we want to ensure that we can help everyone fill out these applications. Of course, we're going to monitor the program, the rehab program, because if we're not seeing a lot of individuals applying, then we're going to go out to the individuals and try to talk to them or answer any questions that they may have about any of the requirements, and also kind of look at areas where we can market directly to and send out mailers, send out applications, and have them contact us. Advertise for requests for applications. This is mainly for developers, affordable housing developers, for-profit developers, or smaller nonprofit developers that are wishing to, create affordable housing. Will attract them, expend funds, and then provide quarterly progress reports to the community via email, via the CAC. So we'll stay engaged. CRA board motions. So these are the motions that we basically are adhering to. We're sunsetting all existing CRA housing programs and complete existing applications. I'm glad to say those are moving and those are done before fall. Adopt alignment with HCD programs as presented in strategy, like I mentioned, from February 29th. Expand programs to all CRA districts starting August 1st. We're hoping, that's the date I'm working towards. So we're hoping that we push that forward and then provide quarterly implementation reports. And then that will start fiscal year 25, where it's transparency. I mean, how much applications we collected, how much was expended, even down to some details that you guys asked, like what might be the problem? What's the hesitation of people not applying for the grants? We're collecting all that data. So let's dive into the program details. So I just wanted to kind of bring forward some housing program successes so far for FY24. Down payment assistance amount expended was $1.8 million. Households assisted 63. Owner occupied rehab program through the city, but located in the CRA. 8 houses assisted, 14 in progress. So amount expended 401. We've acquired 5 parcels, and we have some more that we're looking at within the CRA. So we, like I mentioned, working closely with real estate. And then the emergency roof repair program, 87 roof repair, 1.1 million that we've expanded in those programs. So we've done stuff, but there's more work to do. So, housing rehab and renovation program, what is that? So the new housing rehabilitation and renovation program, which is called HRRP, will cover both interior and exterior repairs to residential homes. And I will give this presentation, well, Brenda has it, she can share it after the meeting with you guys so you can read it. Some eligible, is it about this?
Yeah.
Let me just get to the Q&A part, just notate that. So some eligible repairs include, just like that, leaking or failed roof system, failure of electrical, plumbing, HVAC, tree trimming, lead-based paint remediation, accessibility improvements, plumbing repairs, water heater replacement, weatherization, exterior walls, foundation. All of these are just examples of what we will look at when we go and do the scope of services with that client. On housing rehab eligibility requirements. Property must be located within the city of Tampa limits. For CRA applicants, they must live within the CRA district. Household income cannot exceed 140% area median income, and property must be current on property taxes and mortgage payments. That's very important. So does the application timeline look like? So the new HRRP applications will be accepted via Neighborly, which is their client management system. Paper applications are also available, but as I mentioned, I'm going to help enter that information into the system. The application timeframe right now between, it's 30 days timeframe from application to actual approval, because you have to go through the application. Then we go through the scope of work that's needed. And then based off of that scope of work, we know whether we could cover it by ourselves or whether we have to tap on housing's door and say, we need a partner on this project. So that takes time to kind of figure that out. We have to open our back end PO requisition, all the stuff that we have to do to fund the project specifically for that address. So that does take time. And then so how it looks visually, program awareness and communications will be sent to the community, applications will be collected, applications will be processed, and then notifications will be sent to the clients. So again, I'll give you a copy of this. I just wanted to provide a little bit more detail about the processing, because people have a 50,000 view in, but they don't know what it takes to actually take one person across the finish line. So again, they'll apply through Neighborly, create an account, fill out questions, upload documents, and they will be provided with a client ID number that follows them through the process. Then we go to step 2, where the documentation that's provided by that client will be reviewed, determine income eligibility, do a title search on that property. And then if the title search is cleared, file is updated in the system, then we move on to step 3, where the inspection is scheduled. So a representative of our program that we use, Gordian, the city's JOC system, our inspector, myself or my staff, and then a city person and the GC, excuse me, will go out to then walk the property and create a scope of work. Okay, so it's going to be a representative from everyone that needs to be involved to approve it, walking each one of these homes. Approved, the scope of work is uploaded into Neighborly, and now my team will then schedule the closing. And the closing will include the homeowner / property owner, contractor, and one of our techs. Homeowners advise of a 3-day right to rescission if they don't want to take the funding. That's by law. We have to provide that. And then number 5, the end repairs are started and completed. Contractor will begin repairs on property, periodic site visits are completed, and the final inspection is completed, and homeowner is given a client service to then talk about how their experience went. So that's pretty much per each client. That's the process. So let's talk about down payment assistance, which is actually my favorite program. The down payment assistance program, which is called the Dare to Own the Dream, will offer down payment assistance loans to income eligible home buyers within the city of Tampa limits. Okay. So some changes have occurred to this program and I'll go over it. The city of Tampa's Dare to Own will provide up to $50K worth of assistance for income eligible first time home buyers to achieve the dream of home ownership. So that is pretty much the funding amount. They will start the process at a housing counseling agency where that individual will take an 8-hour class and we will prep them. Well, that agency will prep them, look at their credit, make sure they have $2,000 in verifiable investment. Again, their income, make sure it's under 140% AMI, and then they'll collect those income documentations from that client. And then they will give the client a city of Tampa approved lender and realtor to work with that knows the process. And then after that, that person receives what is called a reservation number where they are reserved the max amount of assistance. And then at that point, they can then start going to shop for a house. So they have secure funding by COT and us. So this just gives some of the program amounts in terms. The max at 50, they go to the 50 to 60 AMI category, so helping that marginalized community. The loan term is the 20-year loan term, 30-year affordability period. What does that mean? Okay. What that means is that if within that time, let's say within 10 years, that person decides to sell the home, our job, the job that was tasked to the COT, City of Tampa, I call it COT, and CRA, is to create affordable units. So by that person buying a home, taking our assistance, they sign a 30-year affordability period that if they wish to sell that property, they have to sell it to an income eligible buyer. So again, you're keeping it affordable to an affordable buyer, affordable user. So again, making sure that, it's not turned over, flipped. This is a problem we're having, and this is the issue that we're trying to work through. So, this is the great thing that just changed this year, because before the maximum purchase price was $229, then it was $350, then it was $400. There's no maximum purchase price now. As long as that buyer can qualify through a traditional mortgage to purchase that house, we will give them assistance. So before it was maxed at $350 or $325, $300 or in between. Now we're trying to eliminate that based off of the cost of the housing stock currently. So that eliminates that hurdle. As long as that buyer can qualify to purchase that house and they clear their debt to income ratio and all of that, then they're good. Another addition we made was we changed the debt to income ratio. Before it was like 36 and 42. Now we eliminated that and it's now just 50% debt to income ratio. So as long as they're under that, for our program, they'll receive the funding. So again, it's just eliminating barriers of debt that's currently happening to all of us. The community. And then it's also eliminating the restriction of, I can only buy a $350,000 home. So it just goes over the terms and then the amounts. Again, I could give you, Brenda has a presentation where she can forward on. And again, I wanted to go over the process. A lot of people are like, okay, what's the transparency? I want to walk you through what it takes a person from the beginning to the end. So again, just like I mentioned, the person starts at the HCA, which we have flyers for and all of that. And again, informational sessions. The buyer will take a home buyer's course and will complete the application and provide all documentation. And then potential buyer must utilize service of an approved lender and realtor. This was enforced because there was a lot of people that thought the process, like the realtors and lenders are not familiar with the program. And then a lot of people were getting to almost to the finish line and not seeing that they're not qualified based off of debt to income ratios and all these issues. And we'd rather educate everyone about the process that's going to be involved in that transaction to make it smoother for the buyer. So number 3, reservation number will be provided to buyer. The reservation number will secure the funding for that purchase. And once the buyer obtains the reservation number, they are able to place a contract on the house. So they get the money, it's secured by us. You got your first mortgage, financing, and then you can go ahead and put the contract on the house. Closing is set. So again, we verify assets, AMI, debt to income ratios, contribution, and all of that. They also are required to get an independent home inspection. And then us as this, City of Tampa CRA will conduct what is called a housing quality standards inspection, just to go above and beyond the recommendation inspection, because an independent third inspection is just telling you the livelihood of, what's the longevity of those appliances, those major systems. This will be a pass or fail. If there's certain electrical sockets that don't work, that will be a fail. That seller will have to make the repairs before that person comes in. Again, this is for individuals who it could be a make it or break it situation to own a house. Like they don't have thousands of dollars to then make a repair, electrical repair. So we want to hand over a house that's already ready, moved in. You shouldn't make no repairs on that house, for the next 10 years. So then a matrix dashboard is updated. I'll provide monthly reports to Brenda, where she'll communicate with you guys. You'll see me throughout the process. I'm located in Handa, and provide updates to CRA board, and then provide updates to be uploaded to the CRA and HCD website. Transparency again. These are currently, as of right now, the program income limit. So if you see this, a household of 4 at 140% AMI cannot exceed $133,000 a year. Again, you can see it by percentages here, and then the amount. So we go by household size. So we count the household size and everyone over 18, unless they're a student. And all income that goes into the household. And then I can provide this as well. So some of the CRA affordable housing initiatives, again, that are aligned up with HCD is number 1, strategic land acquisition in all CRA districts. This is very important. Yes, we might be behind the ball of acquiring property, especially being that 5 years ago, it was 50 to 60,000 possibly to get a lot. Now it's over 150K. It's hard to buy property. But once we acquire it and it's discussed amongst the CACs on conducting workshops, then it comes into a different arena where the community is invited to kind of give feedback on what should be built there. Again, partnership is key. So we'll work with all of the departments to make sure that planning is involved, zoning, we'll know what is zoned and all of that so we can make these decisions. Forming strategic partnerships to increase attainable housing units, working with residential building owners within the urban core to identify opportunities to create attainable housing, working with different organizations within the district to partner in developing affordable housing solutions. You see this really big with the nonprofit developers that are within the district. I can only bring up examples of West and East Tampa because that's where they've been working the most. but there's nonprofits in there that are actually building houses. CDC in Tampa is one of them, whatever they may say, they're still 30 years strong and they're developing housing. They partner with us and boom, there go another 24 units of housing. There goes another 50 units of housing. So it's just working the community. The third housing initiative is request for applications, and this is straight subsidy for, again, for-profit and nonprofit affordable housing developers or developers overall. That we could, hey, we need help. So again, we could subsidize and we can have those conversations. So in partnership with the HCD department, the CRA department will accept proposals for preservation or new construction of affordable rental housing, again, making it more accessible to the community. Infill development is a big talk around town, but it's actually a great program. Working with the real estate and planning department to screen all CRA owned properties and identify best uses of parcels. Working closely with HCD to develop requests for proposals for CRA parcels, or if there's any development within, Ybor or wherever that they're looking for a little bit of subsidy, that could be qualified as infill development. Infill development definition is developing in an existing neighborhood. And then looking at alternative forms of affordable housing. Yes, this is still being talked about, but we did get one step further in the ADU conversation about what looking at a plan and kind of giving some suggestions around that. There's always people proposing tiny homes, modular housing and container homes. I actually do all my research outside of Florida, and look at other states. I've just been privileged to go to Houston, Texas for Cigar Fest. I have a cigar company anyway. So I go over there and I've just seen amazing container homes out there. I mean, nice. So I'm like, wow, I really want to see if we can move this forward and think creatively, especially lots that might be a little bit irregular. But these are different ideas that are coming to play that we're accepting proposals. Like if someone comes in with an idea and they're looking for some subsidy, as long as, if we can make it work and it makes sense, why not? So that's it in a nutshell. This is my contact information if you don't have it, but I'm sure you do. If not, there I am. I'm located on the second floor of the Hannah Building, 2555 East Hannah, with the housing department. So any questions? I know I have questions.
Thank you for finally proposing or giving us some answers to the questions we've been asking for a couple of years. Like truly, this is the first programming that we've received. So that's great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now what do we do with it, right?
Okay.
So I had just a couple of questions that came up, and I saw that 5 land acquisitions have been happened this year, or at least fiscal year 24. What do those look like? How much money has been spent? There wasn't a dollar amount next to that bullet point. Just curious because that was a discussion, because Ybor CRA 1 is lacking in attainable housing opportunities. So we're trying to decide how to spend that.
So we have the majority of it has been in East Tampa. So anywhere from, we bought parcels for 150 all the way to about 1.2. But the 1 point, no, they're bigger, they're different. No, they're different. So for example, one of the acquisitions we did was for the Faith Baptist Church that's in Seminole Heights. That is used to be called Destination Church, but it's a big parcel that is now the community visioning session happened and is now looking to do multifamily, but also commercial, so mixed use. A couple of parcels to kind of make a land assemblage so that we can make bigger impact. You can see that off of 22nd and Lake, where there's, we call it the Gator Building because it's orange and blue. But it is, so we acquired the parcel next to it and we're now negotiating to the parcel behind it. So then, the visioning aspect came from a planning session that a consultant came in and kind of visioned what the commercial corridor or making it like an area that, East Tampa needs their like, area that, like a mini amateur works. So they're working with that plan based off of what can be built there and moving that forward. So we do, based off of Ybor 1, we have money there to do that. And then also Brenda and I spoke about Ybor 2's budget in relations to rehab and down payment assistance on that end. But again, if you find something, we have money for it. We're very transparent. The budget. If it makes sense, let's then have a conversation with zoning on what can actually be built there before even purchasing it. So we know we can make more units or mixed use development. So that's very big. So that's like kind of the price range that we've been seeing at the CRA. But it's been very creative on what's going to be built there, meaning we want we want more density, we want to house more people. So we're not looking to kind of do the one-off kind of acquisition, which is great. We'll still do that. But we're looking to acquire bigger parcels. Like right now, we're acquiring another parcel in this big Palafox Street that's going to be almost like a mini neighborhood. So
in order to get
creative.
those decisions, did those other CRAs have like a consultant pay for a consultant out of the housing budget to decide where those might be? How do we?
So with East Tampa, they did pay for a consultant to do some strategic planning. They did identify parcels to acquire. However, outside of that, there were people contacting the CRA to sell to us. So again, it's twice-fold because now we might have thought 2 lots are needed. And then once we started digging, we need like the whole corner to acquire what that strategic plan is. So it's a mixture of both things, like us identifying, one of real estate's goals now is to present to us and HCD lots that we can purchase of people that come to the city to offer their lots. So now they're going to they've been sending out like notices on anybody that's interested in selling to contact us for, affordable housing and stuff like that. So it's a mixture of both. Like you could be riding around your area, you see something for sale or one of the buildings that now finally are going to be for sale, and then bring it, contact Brenda, myself, and then we'll just get everyone in a group that needs to be there to kind of you look at the zoning, look at the possibility, and then we'll push it forward. I mean, right now, the more units, the better.
So along that line, before CRA 1, where most of the money is, but at least the opportunity is, it's not a very big area. So like, is there an opportunity to canvass the neighborhood and look for an opportunity, lots that look,
I will.
and then inquire after those lots?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not a big area.
Yeah.
So my suggestion has been, again, the CRA could be more creative on what we do. Okay. So my suggestion was let's canvas, let's target now. So we're gonna send out either specialized mailers or have informational sessions, or now we're gonna check the the MLS. Now we're looking at these systems in place through the real estate department to see who owns what and then target them and say, hey, this is our vision. Are you willing to sell to the city? So now it's target time. That's great, what you said.
Infill possibilities in Ybor CRA 1. Some of the gravel or otherwise and underutilized service lots are probably the best targets.
Mm-hmm.
Just a thought. I mean,
Yeah. So no, that's thank you, because that's what, next week, I'm meeting with, real estate to kind of discuss our first move, with Ybor City. I love Ybor City.
Yeah, we do.
I
too.
love it. I wish I could actually live
John
there.
Fernandez is looking for.
I need a big
Y'all
house.
gave a motion a meeting ago about it. So he's the real estate person who came and spoke to us
Yeah.
about the process.
He's on it.
Just so y'all know, and I'll just give you some numbers because it's always fun. Together with FY 24 and FY 25, we have about $3.4 million in that account that nothing's been expended. We kind of broke it up to strategic acquisitions as a push, and then creation and conversion.
So,
It's
what,
also,
yeah.
and again, everything that V said today is available to all CRAs. Okay, but with your input, we're like, let's look at these two categories. But if we find something else and we want to move money, we can do that. Just a different pot.
we just
Everything's
have it
available.
aligned, sorry, Brenda, we just have it aligned in 5 quadrant, like the
Right.
budget is aligned like that. So we can stay within those line items, but we made it vague enough that, just like I mentioned, typically infill development is the city owns lots, we have to go through a proposal process, we push out lots, no money's attached to it. Now, because infill phase 1 was money attached to it as a revolving loan fund. But in this case now, the monies are a contribution to the developer.
Right, exactly.
Exactly. So there was no money, we didn't have to put a line item. The reason why I put money into infill development is because once you start building that house, you don't know what might be there, infrastructure issues that someone has to cover. And if it's our lot that we're putting out, let's go ahead and cover it. But this also ties into a bit of something that needs to be built and we need to subsidize that. That's also infill development.
Right.
Right, so my point, again, Ybor CRA 1, where there's a lot of opportunities.
Mhm.
Ybor CRA 2, you have programs and you just need to kind of.
Correct.
But in CRA 1, we're gonna have to be strategic, we're probably gonna have to acquire a piece of land.
Mhm.
And then from there, it would be, we own the land, we're happy to go into kind of a private partnership, private-public partnership where a developer who's willing to develop housing that would be rented to people with certain animal
Correct.
categories and that kind of thing is part of the development agreement. That would
Correct.
be kind of how it goes.
Yes.
Fleet.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That's how it goes. You left out the community session.
No.
What's I want to put that publicly, yes.
There's lots of options.
Yes,
Yeah.
a workshop is attached to the acquisition of lots. So the community is aware of what's coming and they provide feedback on what should be there.
Right.
So
And it doesn't have to be land. It
Correct.
could be property. It could be a building.
Correct.
That we adaptively reuse or adapt to.
Yeah.
Just while we're on that note, Ybor 2, so you know, we have a total of 1.5 million in that district. That's been split just right now between housing rehab and renovation, down payment assistance, and strategic acquisitions. And again, and because there's more housing stock in
Yeah.
Ybor 2, more opportunities, maybe some of the homeowners could take advantage of some of these programs, but
I know some of the homeowners could take advantage of them.
I mean, that's
So-
my question on that is you kind of like you're focusing on programs, but you did split it to include strategic acquisition.
Yes.
So
Yes.
just make sure that, so we asked real estate to do that as well, but you said that you already have, you guys are.
Yes, we're playing, yes, because
So
once
we're
we,
doing,
yes.
are we overlapping? They're doing
No,
the
no,
same.
No,
project?
no. Now it's, the reason why you required it as a body, but now I'm a staff member working a program, so now I'm pushing it on this side of saying like, hey, let's now start aggressively seeking this. Because this is one of our mandates now that we have to make sure that we, create affordable housing.
and we need to spend
So
money.
everyone's on it, yeah.
We need to spend money, yes.
Everyone's on it. So, I'll, go ahead.
I was gonna go for a different program, so if there's anything else with that.
No, again, when we market for these programs, we do want to creatively look at where we're sending this, the mailers or the notifications to, so we can make sure we're getting the response that we want. So just like she mentioned in Ybor too, I will market more towards, hey, do you want to become a homeowner and do you need rehab assistance? While we're in the back looking to see what we can acquire in strategic acquisition. So it's kind of being creative on how we market to that certain group in that community.
For the down payment assistance, so just so I understand for clarity, it's a loan, it's not a grant.
It's not a grant, it's a deferred loan that is doable and payable a couple of ways. Number one, if the person refinances, or if the person sells, they'll have to pay it back. The term is 20 years, so after 20 years, it will be gone. It will just have interest-free, zero interest, deferred loan, silent second. It just sits there, it just gets that buyer into that house.
They have until they have to pay.
It's a 20-year term, so it's just 20 years, yes.
Oh, okay.
So they have 20 years to stay in the home. Now, again,
Basically, if you sell it before 20 years,
you have to pay back
If
the
you
fund.
keep it for 20 years, you don't.
You don't have to pay it back. It has, and again, this is for individuals, a couple of things that I have seen, throughout the years, both, more citywide. You don't rarely see anyone selling their houses that have received this assistance. They're here for a while. This is their home, When you do see it, the city will work with you on making sure that, number one, let's say you do sell it and you have to cover, of course, let's say you have an existing mortgage on it. You have to go cover your first position, financing. We come in at the end, and there is more than likely time that we're going to negotiate and try to see about, some way of forgiveness at that point, depending on the circumstances. So it's not set in stone. We just look at that situation and say, okay, this is based off of this. Could you repay 10 grand? Because we want to make sure that we have money for other individuals. So that's that fold. But again, since we never had down payment assistance in Ybor, you guys are not excited like I am about the maximum purchase price elimination, because that was a big hurdle, because right now average cost $425, average.
It was 240.
So before it was
These are program,
so
working, I think that at least you go with that. I mean,
Yeah.
it's exciting to see that there's actual programs.
Yeah, so, again, assistance, and then again, if, the person, has any barriers of, applying from all these programs, please have them reach out to me. Because I've been from the bottom to the top, meaning helping people buy homes, save homes. I started, 06, and then, what happened in 08, like, it was crazy. So a lot of stuff, I want to make this move. So I want to make sure that we are all on the same page. And I'm here for anyone's questions, and I work closely with Ms. Brenda.
Absolutely.
So we make it happen.
Thank you. Last question.
Yes.
Just on your inspection, your additional inspection you guys require on that. Do you fear at all that with the current market, that pass fail element actually, puts them at risk of not getting a home? That you're gonna have home owners who are the sellers, who are gonna go, no, anybody's gonna buy this house.
Yeah, we fear that.
Fail me on a single socket.
Yeah.
That I'm not gonna bother to repair.
I get it. Me as a landlord, me as a person, I will say that I would never feel comfortable giving assistance to a client that is low income and putting them in a bad house. I would not be able to sleep at night, because something is making that electrical socket not work. And that's going to turn into this whole wall's not working to now $4,000 I don't have. So I could think of it both perspectives. Yes, the seller would be like, no, we haven't seen a seller walk away because they're at this point that they either need to get rid of this property or they understand what they're signing up for. And I've seen both. I mean, you're not right when someone comes to you and says, hey, I'm part of a down payment assistance. You can pull out at that time and say, hey, I don't think I want to walk that route. But there's, as a seller, what's wrong with your property. Let's not, and we just want to ensure that we're not handing all this money. And then all of a sudden in the back end, they're asking us for 40K because everything's shot in the house. Because that's not a good stewardship of dollars. So we have to think of it both. Any questions? And we're right here.
Thank you for great information, and it's nice to see finally this information kind of coming together into real programs that can help people. So.
Yes, I'm excited.
Thank you, B.
Thanks, B.
Thank you.
I'll just a couple notes on my thing, CRA board meeting recap from June 13th, was really all the grants that were, talked about, including this one, were approved by the CRA board. We're continuing to evolve with the YCDC update. Papers are moving along. We updated the price increase there. We've removed Courtney from the PayPal account, so we're continuing to transition that. Like an act of God, I'll tell you that. So all that's in good hands. I'll have a more formal update, but I'd like to get together sometime next month since we won't have a CAC meeting next month. Maybe that's a good time to fill in. I know everyone's kind of traveling, but we'll schedule something so we get together and just keep the YCDC update moving along. I'll turn it over to Brenda.
Okay, I'll be real brief. Just so y'all know, projects report, you'll get these in your packet every month, so you can kind of see where we're at with most of the projects. The big highlighted project is 15th, it's 7th Avenue Bricking. We had a community meeting yesterday, about 45 people showed up. It's very good. The media has gotten some interest in this right now. Usually they wait till a press conference, but they are interested. So you'll see some news reports. I sent one out yesterday. Rich and I are involved with one today with Channel 8, and Channel 28 wants to come out tomorrow. So nobody can say they didn't know about the project, which was the #1 goal of just having a community meeting. But so it is going to kick off. We're looking at July 15th. There's this question out there. It's going to take 6 weeks. That is in the worst scenario. It should move fairly quickly. It is 2 blocks. So in this particular corridor, you really have to limit traffic, pretty much stop traffic. But while 1 block's getting done, you'll have some limited access on either block to go. But so July 15th, and hopefully we'll have this done, hopefully by the next board meeting. Oh my gosh. We'll be working hard during the July and August months. So it should be exciting. And when we do a ribbon cutting or whatever we do, I want all the CAC members to because y'all supported this project all along. So any questions about it? Yeah.
Pretty good.
Assuming the sidewalks are gonna be super clear, so.
Super clear.
Okay. So
No A-frame signs.
Well, just.
No A-frames.
We need to make sure that those businesses along there can stay in business and we support
Yes.
them,
Yes, and just so y'all know, that's an extra effort we're doing. We have certain business signage that we've drafted up. I presented at the meeting yesterday to show a marquee. So when you're walking pedestrian, like come from the garage, coming from the south or coming north from the north down, you're going to see a marquee and says, businesses this way, businesses that way. Anything we can do to help them. The biggest help will be get in and out of and do the project as quickly as possible. And hopefully the rain will come our way or something else. But yeah, people are excited about it. I mean, it's a long awaited project and yeah.
It's gonna be. It's kind of a 2-step route. They're gonna have to mill the asphalt off of there. So they're gonna have some heavy equipment digging up everything, going down about 4 inches, repairing the base, putting back and laying the paver. So everything's gonna be within a windscreen fence on the street. Sidewalks are gonna remain open. So like Brenda said, there's some signage to drive foot traffic. Sidewalks will be open for the businesses, but there will be a little bit of pain, like anything on 7th Avenue when they close down the street. So traffic will be directed around, and you guys could all help out by supporting the businesses on that block in the meantime. That would be great.
Yes, that's an extra love. All right, so that's it.
FRA awards.
We applied for some awards, 3 for Ybor. Well, 1 annual report, and then we're doing the Yes Team. We applied for the Yes Team program this year, new, and also the 7th Avenue Lights. We didn't get one from this organization, so we're going to try again. We'll know more, and that conference is, will be here in October.
Sorry, hopping back, quick question on signage, the signage that's
Yes.
supposed to be rolled out, where are we at?
Signage, the contract for the street name signs.
Yeah.
It's happening. It's happening. We've been working with Sign Star, a small company. Took them a little while to get up and going, but we've got a really good person at Mobility who's pushing them along. We should have the first 10 to 20 signs installed shortly, I think within the next month or two. They're working very hard. They are a small business. They were the only one that bid on the project, but we're really trying to work with them, and they've invested a lot of time and money. So you'll see brand new street name signs with a nice black pole and, you know, the nice backing. And we're starting in the south, I believe. We're doing some of the ones down in the south. We are avoiding gasworks, of course, because, you know, that signage is coming down. So, but yeah, that'll be a process. That'll be going over time, and I'll give you all an update next meeting on
I
it.
think David mentioned some concern over the UV coating or the letters,
Oh.
the signs. Has that been discussed with them?
Just the
The durability.
vinyl technology has kind of changed since they did
Oh.
it 20 years ago. So, you know,
Yes.
using something that's UV resistant is gonna last time.
Yes, absolutely. I'll make sure I'll get that comment back to our mobility coordinator on that.
Okay. Any other unfinished business, new business? No board meeting, CRA board meetings, the July 25th, no CIC board meeting next month in July, so we'll see you all in August.
So you know, doing a town hall at Berry House for all of Gasworks, and anyone's invited. They've sent out some mailers to residents and businesses. July 10th. So July 10th, they're coming in and refreshments will be provided.
Oh.
Presentation starts at 6, so you can come, you know, as early as 5:30, and they'll be in the beer garden, but they'll be kind of going over, I think they're gonna do a little slideshow about construction and timelines and that kind of thing. So trying to tell people what to expect over the next year and a half, 2 years. It's the first of that. No, come on.
Speaks to go to bar.
Okay, seeing no other business, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Yes.
See you too.
Yeah. Get our. Nice.